The world is changing so fast. We need to find new ways. We all need to open our consciousness. I want to invite great personalities to make you discover new phenomena, stunning pathways, amazing ways of healing, and new ways of perceiving reality. The world is not what you think. All around us, many phenomena still remain a total mystery. Follow me, and let's explore together Unexplored Roads. Hello, my dear explorers. I am so happy to welcome you. Look at these stunning views. You are now in Arizona, Sedona. You can see the red rocks, the famous red rocks of this wonderful region, powerful and very spiritual. With us today, we will have a complete lesson of grounding with my special guest, Amalia Camateros. Enjoy. Hi everyone, so glad to welcome you for this new episode of Unexplored Roads with my special guest today, Amalia Camateros, who is a healer, shamanic guide. Hello, Amalia. Thank you so much for receiving us.
Hello, Philip. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be of support and of service in any way I can. Thank you.
That's really nice. And we need it above all today. We will speak about grounding and spiritual healing, but first, we are in a famous place, very well known and popular amongst spiritual community and even more. It is Sedona in Arizona. Is
Yes.
it a really special place, or is it just a cliche made with the aliens, vortexes, and business stuff? Is it a real spiritual place?
Well, you've got you have the surface and then you have what's really going on. You have the surface of the ocean that all you see is the waves and they're very cute and they're very frolicking and light, but underneath is where the real magic is. So, one might come to Sedona and see the vortex tours and the crystal stores and the UFO sighting, outings you can go to. But that's just on the surface. That's, to capture the people, which is good, which is not a bad thing because then people really get a taste of what Sedona it really is when you stay here. It is a hot spot. Sedona is a hot spot, not I'm talking about physically, even though we are in Arizona and it's very hot most of the year, but it's a transformational hotspot. You could say it's like a major acupuncture point on the planet. And it does have what people have called vortexes. There's energy centers. There is crystals in the rocks. So we know that crystals magnify and amplify energy, especially what you're thinking, and it can actually program. So it's a powerful place for people to come and let go and transform and bring in what they would like to manifest and create. And I'm not talking about an affirmation. I'm talking about real transformational work. And the red rocks of Sedona are full of iron oxide. So there's a lot of strength and power in the rocks themselves. And they're 330 million years old, these rocks. So they act as sages, they act as seers, they act as gurus. So in a way, when people come to Sedona, they're coming to a natural earth ashram. You know the word ashram?
Yeah.
You go into doing the deeper work and the meditational work and a lot of ashrams in India. So I regard this as a very powerful ashram that people get to come to and steep into the power of these ancient, sacred rocks that are alive and wisdom filled.
Mm.
So Sedona is very powerful. I was only coming here for 6 months, and I've been here for 20 years. So a lot of people get to stay here because it's powerful, very powerful.
Yeah, I could experiment it. Yes, 4 years ago when I met you, and we really had a great time here. Above all, some sacred sites you showed me, like the Rebirthing Cave. I don't
Hmm.
know if you can mention it. It is very powerful to rebirth and to raise.
Yes, it is. I would say that the ancient people, the Anasazis, and I'm not sure about the Anasazis so much, but the ancient people of this land, um, they never lived here. They never lived in Sedona. They would live in the outer surroundings of Sedona because it was so powerful and sacred to them. It's like the motherland, the God land,
Mm,
the creator land. When I first came to Sedona, I said to myself, oh my God, if God would choose a place to live physically, it would be here. And so the native people of the land, the would come into the sacred sites like the Rebirthing Cave to do different ceremonies and then leave. They wouldn't live there. But
mm,
yes, the Rebirthing Cave actually does look like two women's legs. When you're in it, you look up and you see that almost like the opening of the above cave is looks like legs, and there's even an anal sphincter looking and a sort of genitalia looking in there. So, as you remember, yeah?
yeah, 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 sure. It's like with a womb shape,
Like
I would say.
A womb shape,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
with the actual what genitalia could even kind of look like in a way, like an anyway. So
Yeah,
it's very
very
powerful.
feminine and very powerful, and the color also. And it's very powerful to work with grounding, because you mentioned, I remember many times you said, first thing, if you want to embrace a spiritual pathway, you have to be centered and grounded. So,
Yes, very good memory. That's
and
good.
I had a great teacher with you.
Great.
So, what is being grounded? Is it just being present to everything? Is it just mindfulness? What
Well,
could,
that's the result. That's the result. There is a way of grounding your energy to bring the result of being calm. And look at my hands when I say this, to be calm and embodied
mm,
and focused. So, in a way, the grounding brings the energy in and down into the earth. It's like the grounding of a seed. The seed needs to go into the earth before it can gestate and start sprouting roots and then coming up. It's also in a way you could say it's we need to descend before we ascend.
yeah.
We need to really allow ourselves to be really fully human before we become superhuman. And we need to really embrace the animal part of our nature, the parts that we deny and run from. But if we embrace that, we get to ground it, and then we can evolve from there even more.
Mm,
So grounding, there is grounding tools, and there's ways that many people choose to ground. But essentially, it's about connecting your energy with the energy of Mother Earth, because Mother Earth has a very calm, centered, grounded, literally, energy that we can rest into. It's not electrical and busy
yeah.
and changes its mind. It's very steady and powerful. And a lot of people, of course, when we go out to nature, we feel that instinctively. We become that part of our most natural grounded self because we're walking in nature.
Mm,
We're walking in that, if you could say, 0 point energy where there's no judgment and no confusion.
mm,
It's very simple. And for me, Mother Earth is one of the most purest expressions of God there is.
mm. And
Indeed.
what kind of tools do you use to facilitate grounding?
Well, I take people through a process, as you know, get them to, explain about the root chakra, for example, is one of the most, a grounding key. It's one of the first keys to grounding. Now, we have 7 chakras in the body. We have the root chakra, which is between the anal sphincter and the genitalia, in the perineum there. That's the root chakra. We have the second chakra, which is between, just underneath the belly button. We have the solar plexus, which is just under the heart here. We have the heart chakra, we have the throat chakra, we have the third eye chakra, and we have the crown chakra. Now, if you relate this to a lotus plant, for example, the Indian people, the Hindu culture, they have a whole way of looking at yoga and the chakra path as a lotus path. The roots are in the mud. And this most purest flower that opens up with so many beautiful petals is coming out of the mud. So we can relate that to our awareness of ourself, that the root chakra is where we tend to stick down all our things that we judge. We could say our shit, literally, basically. You know, we do sit on our shit. We tend to hide it. We tend to push it down. And that's where we store in the basement what we don't want to see. You see? But that's a very powerful center, because the root chakra is where the kundalini is. And this is where the Hindu paradigm comes into it. The Hindu philosophy comes into it. Kundalini means she who is coiled. It's like that serpentine snake energy.
Yeah.
That, you know, when they play the flute in India and they rise the snake out of the butt, it's kind of symbolic of raising the kundalini. And the kundalini energy is that life force energy that comes up, you know, when we have a sexual orgasm, when we have an orgasm, it does arise from down there. So it's a very powerful life force energy that we cannot afford to push down and stifle and suppress. So part of the grounding, the way I do it, is to really allow and teach people to open up. And we'll do a little exercise during this program towards the end where we can actually experience this. Open up that root chakra and allow all of this chatter, this confusion, this entanglement, the problems, the worry. We could call it anxiety. It's like a buzzword, the anxiety. And give it somewhere to go down through the chakra stem, down through the body, down through the root chakra, into the earth, you see. So, and then again, also we have these very large nerves that come out of that root chakra that are our leg nerves. They're the biggest nerves in the entire body that can push the legs forward and make those legs work. They're the largest nerves in the entire body. They actually look like tree roots. If you look up the sciatic nerves, they look like tree roots. So they're coming out of that root system. And it's like we have our own roots in our legs. We can use the imagery of those roots coming out of that root system, out of the buttocks area, down into the earth to make contact. So it's not just a mental thing. We actually can apply this through our body to connect into the earth this way.
You mentioned chakras, which are like vortexes. It's like in Sedona. So can you work with the vortexes to open the chakras? Are there similarities between them? Can you explain the system?
Yeah, you can. Yes, a lot of people probably do that. For me, number one, like a vortex for number one is a vortex is a place that has a lot of aliveness. When you think of a vortex, you think of a spin. And when you think of a spin, you have to think of that still point in the center of the spin, correct? Yes. Now, that's a vortex. Now, I believe we are each a vortex. We are the center of our universe. You are the center of your universe. I am the center of my universe. And everyone who's watching, you are the center of your universe. Universe complies and listens to everything we think and we believe and actually enacts that for us. It actually brings that forth in many ways. If I feel like I'm not powerful and I'm not good enough, my shoulders hunch over. Life responds to me in this way.
Hmm.
And the universe is so unconditional that it says, okay, you're not good enough. We love you. Okay, let's give you not good enough. So it's very important, especially in these vortex sites, if you want to call them like that, to be very mindful.
Hmm.
And yes, there is power in these centers, just like there is more power in each of our chakras of our body, because they're energy centers. So
Hmm.
when we learn how to work with them, and when you can go to a vortex site and be present, you can, of course, feel which chakra you need to work on and apply that into the vortex energy, because the vortex energy is an amplifier. There's a
Hmm.
lot of aliveness, there's a lot of energy, and there's a lot of amplification that happens. So yes, you can work with chakras into the vortex.
And just before settling in Sedona, you traveled a lot, and you mentioned your journey, your spiritual or your own spiritual journey through this book, which has a wonderful title, Spirit of the Stones, which is really amazing for those who want to embrace a spiritual pathway. So, can you explain the title, Spirit of the Stones? Are you able to feel the messages of the stones? And what kind of message did you receive?
Great question. Very good question. That's great.
Thank you.
So yes, Spirit of the Stones, it is the spirit of the stones. In the book and how I was called from Australia, I was a naturopath doctor in Australia. That means for many people, they might know it as a holistic doctor. And I was very busy and I had a big life. And this Sedona energy came into my world when I was sitting and being very still in my medicine wheel, the back of my land. And this word, Sedona, came into me and opened my body like a safe. I heard these three kind of clicks like a safe. And then I heard a click and my hands opened. And in those days, we didn't have computers in those days. I'm kind of revealing my age here a bit. Excuse me. And I could feel this downloading of whatever this Sedona thing was. And I had received messages and omens and dreams for 1 year constantly. And you read the book, you'd see it's constant. The spirit was relentless with me,
Yeah.
absolutely relentless. It's like people who read my book go, "Are you kidding me? You denied spirit so much." And maybe because I denied it, and my dharma, my karma, my soul path was to come here and be a secretary for the earth, to tap into the stones. I was denying it. I was kind of scared. It's like, I don't know, is this real? And I really tested spirit and
Hmm.
had a very strong relationship with spirit in this way. And a lot of few shamans have read the book and got a little upset at me that I got so much attention from spirit. But it did certainly bring me here to to come to this, particularly to the stones of Sedona in this area, and listen to the wisdom of Mother Earth through the stones. Now, the ancient people, the indigenous people, were already doing this. This is a shamanic way of connecting into the unseen world. The unseen world is what the shamans do. They go into the unseen world, whether it's spirit
Hmm.
or whether it's in under the earth, in the unseen, in the shadow realm. And this is also where I work with people. I go into the unseen places of their own being and bring light to it, return that to them so they can see consciously what they've been hiding from, what they've been sitting on, especially in the root chakra, because it's the most powerful place.
Yeah.
That's the stem of the chakras begin there. And if that's not settled and grounded and based, it's hard for the rest of your being to be settled and aligned. So, coming back to your question about the spirit of the stones, when I go there into the stones and listen to the wisdom of the earth, I'm listening to the spirit of the stones. It's not that I'm listening to the physical aspect that stones are talking to me, like a
Mm,
cartoon. It's more the spirit of the being of that element, because
mm,
every element is alive. It's like a being. It's not just earth. Earth is alive. Earth is a conscious being, like goddess. And fire is alive, and fire has a being behind it that is a spirit. Animals have a spirit, humans have a spirit. So the rocks have a spirit too. And they're quite funny too every now and again. Like they're kind of, I don't know, I found the spirit of the stones every now and again a little comical, not comical, but um, entertaining in a way, because often people with wisdom are funny. Have you noticed that?
mm.
Sometimes the people you meet that have so much wisdom can just say something and it'll be so funny and it'll just shock you into another way of thinking. That's what the stones were doing as well every now and again, I found.
Mm.
So the spirit of the stones is the best way I could bring forth to explain what is really happening. That's why the title, Spirit of the Stones.
Mm. And before going to Sedona, you went to Hawaii numerous times. And what kind of lessons and wisdom did you get there in Hawaii?
Yes, very interesting. That's good too, because what I noticed, like first of all, there's 2 times I went to Hawaii in my book. First of all, after my 15-year marriage, I went to Hawaii to just unpack, unpack my marriage of 15 years. I went to Hawaii to really just be me without doing the shamanic work and just unpacking, decompressing from 15 years of this marriage that I had experienced. That was a difficult marriage for me, and marriage can be difficult for everybody, but there's always the beautiful things too. And so I spent 6 months there just unwinding. And then I went over to Mexico for 6 months and started started to retrieve the wisdom of the stones, of the temples. And then I went to Sedona and lived here for several years before I went to Hawaii. Now I'm in Hawaii with you. And what I noticed, the difference between Sedona and Hawaii, is that the rocks and the energy of Sedona is very ancient. Look at my hands already. Look at this. The ancient, which means there's this sitting. The elders are sitting in silence. And you can go to these ancient 330 million year old rocks all around you that have seen all sorts of things, deluges, have been under the water 4 to 6 times, completely under the ocean. And they've seen UFOs and they've seen the stars and comets and and the light of every day and the sun and the moon and so much energy, so much energy. They're like crystals, the rocks here, and they contain crystals. That's how powerful it is here.
Hmm.
And then you go to Hawaii, and and it's relatively new. The land on the big island of Hawaii is
Yeah.
still being born. It's
Very young. Yeah.
50,000 years old. It's baby energy.
It's the
So it's
baby.
crawling around. It's crawling around. It's like a toddler. It's like, oh, look, the flowers here. Boom, boom. The flowers are bursting and the
Yeah.
ocean's moving and the dolphins are jumping. And there's a lot of activity there. You know, the desert's still and quiet. That Hawaii is very like alive and jumping. And so I found the difference there with the stones quite this way,
Hmm.
much more talkative. The stones were more talkative in Hawaii.
Hmm. And what kind of wisdom and philosophy did you get from these young stones and baby stones?
Well, you know, I don't know if they were baby stones and young stones, even though I just said that. So I agree with what you're saying. It's more, um, because I've been training myself to listen to the wisdom of the stones. The whole premise of this book, the whole premise of me moving from Australia over to Sedona was to retrieve the wisdom that was dormant, lying dormant in the stones. just like so you could, like a library. The stones are like the bones of the earth. They contain DNA of the earth. They contain the physical DNA of the earth, and they contain the spiritual history and archives of the earth spiritually. And so by the time I got to Hawaii, I was really good at it. I was able to go down deep. Don't forget there's the ocean, on top of Hawaii with all the dolphins and things. And then down below, the big whales and the sharks. And so I was able to go down deep in there. I don't know how to explain what you're asking in a way, because I was trained by then to be able to really go deep, but it was still busy. It was very busy. I was able to go down deep, but the energy was very busy in that way. That's how I would explain it.
Mm.
And that, the rocks there in the big island were talking about Pele, and they were talking about life and death. And it's a shamanic place, the big island, very shamanic. If you compare all the islands, that the big island is the root chakra of the 7 islands. Did you know that?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you've got the Ni'ihau, which is an island that not many people can even have the privilege of going to. And that's like the crown chakra. So here I am in the root chakra, going out in the middle of the night at 12 o'clock at night, out into the Pele and the volcano. And it's very shamanic. So a lot of shamanic information came through that in
Mm.
Hawaii.
And you mentioned your place of birth and origin, Australia. I think
Yes.
there, perhaps you get some dream time and messages and wisdom from native aborigines. Can
Yes.
you explain what is this kind of spirit, and how much did you get inspired by this kind of spirit?
Yeah, it was, well, by the time I left, I was busy running a 14 practitioner clinic, and married, and building a house. And I was very young, and I was dealing with a lot of bank managers. And when I was 18, I did live with some Aboriginals. I did hitchhike around Australia when I was 18. And so I did get some start off with the Aboriginal people of Australia in this way. It wasn't necessarily that I was in the desert digging in roots for the ground in this way, but I was in a town called Broome, and that was a pearl mining town. So there were a lot of Aboriginals there, and I was living with some there. And there was one particular one that you've met in my book called Uncle Cassie. And Uncle Cassie would take me out camping at night and teach me just how to be,
Hmm.
just how to watch the moon sink into the ocean. Not much talking. The Aboriginals don't talk much in this way, they be. And you would show me the footprints in the rocks of the dinosaurs, and we would go. He would show me how to make fishing nets and maybe make my own necklaces and carve. And don't forget, back then it may not have been outlawed, and the Aboriginals were allowed to catch turtles. Now the turtles in Australia, they're not like this how you see them here in America. Anyway, I don't know about Europe, but here in America they're large, but in Australia everything's larger.
Yeah.
Everything's huge. Like, you get lizards here, and in Australia they're big goannas, and you get
Yes. Quite.
turtles that are this big, and in Australia they're really like 6 foot long. So he would bring the turtle back. The tribe would cut it up and share it with the tribe, and would teach me how to cook turtle and dugong, which is like a sea pig, and this sort of thing. So I already had a flavor of becoming earth with the Aboriginal, my beautiful Aboriginal friend, Dr. Cassie, Uncle Cassie. And then later on, the land itself is very primal in Australia. It's beautiful, and it's very primal, and it is very, very ancient. But I wasn't tapped into it so much. There was more healing people and being a doctor in the natural doctor that way. And then just before I came here, before I heard that word Sedona in the stone circle, I had readopted that way of the Aboriginal way, where I was so exhausted from running a clinic and being a wife and building a house and taking care of a lot of people, where at the end of the day I would just go and sit in the stone circle. And I was so exhausted that I couldn't even apply a meditation technique. I just would have to just sit. Even applying, take a breath, even was too much for me. That's how exhausted I was at a young age doing all this stuff, you know?
Mm.
And I remember just sitting there and I felt like I was an Aboriginal, like just be. And and that's where the magic of the Sedona energy came in. And when I came to Sedona, for many years, and then I went back to Australia, I went to Ayers Rock, in how people know the term Ayers Rock. And I returned some stones from there that I was given from my husband many, many years back, that I had traveled with me into Sedona. And I realized after just working with the stones and listening to the stone beings that it was important that I return those sacred rocks back to Uluru, which is the correct name of Ayers Rock, Uluru. So I took pilgrimage, went back to see my family, and I took a pilgrimage from Melbourne to Alice Springs to take these rocks back. And that's where I really experienced the Dreamtime energy.
Mm.
Everything there for me was so stark, like hot and what can I say? It was very alert and stark, and even a crow that would come. Everything was piercing. And in that heat and in that challenge and in the presence of this powerful rock, I totally felt the dream time. And that the dream time really is the presence of being for me.
Mm.
It's the pure presence of being. Some people could call it the Garden of Eden, because the presence of being, the Garden of Eden, is within us. It's not somewhere you have to go to. I believe the Garden of Eden, the memory of our planet and of Earth and our heart connected to Earth is still there. And so the dream time of Australia was, you had to be so present to keep alive, you know? The flies were at you, the crow was crowing, the hot sun and the stones were burning under your feet. You have to be so present that it kind of spat you out into the presence. Do you understand what I'm saying with that?
Yeah, sure.
Like a survival energy in a way.
Mm.
And that's how I experienced, like, oh, wow, that's how the Aboriginals really got to survive out here, by going into this other dimension, by going into an exalted dimension of being, to even handle the survival aspect of the land there. That's how I saw it.
Mm. So it's really the red line of your life, being grounded, centered.
It is.
Um,
It's
yeah,
true.
yes, I think so. And I think you express it in a new course online you have just created. That is quite
Yeah.
amazing. I would put the link to the viewers. It's stronger than ever. It's
Yes.
the title you put. How
Yes.
can you sum up your course?
Absolutely. Yes. Stronger than ever. So especially in this climate and this time of our history, we are so locked into technology and the phones and the computers and the media, and everything's so nebulous and changing so quickly. You
Mm.
hear one thing and then you hear the opposite, and you're told one thing and then you're told something else, and very quickly with a click of a button you can enter a whole world of information, and people are forgetting themselves. Excuse me. People are, in a sense, moving further and further away from their true authentic being.
Mm.
And they're actually being demanded upon to stay in their head. And all this turbulence is like this, the surface of the ocean, where the ocean and the waves are rolling around. It's turbulent. There's a lot of that energy.
Mental, left brain.
Mental, left brain, right brain, both of them going, yes, no, right, wrong, what about this? No, what about this? And there's a lot of all this mental argument.
Confusion.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, we know that when we go out into nature, confusion just leaves. There's an energy of Mother Earth that blankets you and holds you and comforts you. And in the stillness of her being, of the nature, Mother Nature's being, the trees are teaching us how to stand in our life, to ground our energy and put our roots down so that we can stand tall and strong in our trunk and raise our branches really high. So the deeper that we put the roots down, the stronger the trunk, the more the branches, the more fruit, the more gifts we can give to the world, because we are grounded. We're not just operating from this little thing that's really, the mind is the place where the ego is more attached. The ego is not attached to the nose or to the heart, especially, or to the elbow or to the face. The mind is attached. It's somehow connected into the mind, and so the mind is so nebulous and changes its tongue. Its tongue this way and that way all the time. So Stronger Than Ever is a course that can teach you how to understand the chakras, understand the root chakra and the importance of bringing all your energy in and down so you can ground it somewhere truthfully. It's like a plug in a plug in the socket. If you have a big appliance, you need the grounding plug, right? You need the grounding one. You can't just have the two. I don't know what you have in Europe. I'm not sure, but it needs to be grounded or you can short circuit the house. And that's how I see it for us. So this course is about teaching you how you can ground your energy, tap into the earth, listen to the elements. It's a shamanic course. So it's a shamanic course teaching you how to access the wisdom of the earth and bring that centering that earth offers us into the center of our being and grounding it so we can be more calm and we can be more focused and we can be more attuned to our truth, because more than ever it's important that we listen to our own truth, not what we're told all the time out there. We really need to, more than ever, have become an antenna of spirit and listen to the truth of our being, what's right for us, come into the intuition. So this course is teaching this about.
And how many hours?
It's only a couple of hours. I kept it short because I know how many people get sidetracked. I kept it real short. It's a beautiful video that has a montage of photos and slides and videos. So it's kind of like an experience. And we also take you out in the land and teach the major grounding with the earth in this way as well. It's only 2 hours, but I also have the MP3 recordings that you can take on your phone to take out into nature, to listen to the meditations and the processes that you can do.
Guided meditation to be grounded and centered.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Really interesting. So I will put the link and all the information you need,
Thank you.
Explorers. And I have a very last question before your tip and exercise. I think you have a special thing and gift for us today.
Yes. Yeah.
According to you, is there a moment you can say, okay, I am healed, everything is perfect, it's forever?
Yes, you can in the moment. Yes, you can. If you're in the moment and you're feeling that aliveness and you're in the moment, not in the future, yes, you can say that. True? But I'm not saying it's for the next moment and the next moment after that, unless you can really be in the present moment. So yes, in that moment, which is the most powerful moment where there ever is, in the moment, there is never a problem. The mind cannot exist in the moment. The mind cannot function in the present moment. The mind functions in the future and in the past, not in the present moment. The body is the element of being present in the moment. That's why I'm all about getting all of that busyness into the body and into the body of the earth.
Mm.
So yes, comes a time. There is a moment, but it's only a moment at a time.
But
The way you're asking it, though, I'm being a bit funny. The way you're asking it, though, I don't feel like there is that thing where you can ever say. I think life is always evolving.
yeah,
It's
sure.
always changing. And the moment someone says, I'm perfect, there's nothing more to do, is the moment where life is going to, I'm sure, to bring something up for the next thing, because evolution is important for us,
Mm.
for the planet. Everything's evolving, everything's moving, everything's,
Mm.
and even of some of the gurus, the major gurus of the earth, in our time, who've fallen out of grace completely, who appear amazing and like, oh my gosh, like, oh my, this is like the holy man of all holy men. And then even he falls out of grace, you find out later some things he's done. So I think the most important thing is to be humble and work with what we have that's true and real. And for me, what I'm offering you all is what's true and real is Mother Earth and Father Sky and the universe and love. Love is really, if you don't mind me saying, love is the new virus we should be passing around.
Yes, and there is a red line between these broadcasts. Everything, every moment we speak about love, unconditional love.
Yes.
We could appear like a cliche, but what is your own meaning, your own definition of love? Because it's
Beautiful.
so used.
That's good. I'm really enjoying your questions. Very good questions, Philip. Well, you're asking me, so I'm going to answer from me. I'm not going to pull on anything that I've heard. I don't tend to do that. I tend to really always, this is just letting everybody know, one way of really being able to become more and more wisdom filled is to listen into your first thought, is the intuition, before the mind comes in and says, oh no, maybe not that, or maybe this. But the first thought is usually the pure one.
Mm.
And I also close my eyes and come into my being and my knowingness. That's how I operate more than reading things and trying to grasp things. And it's important for us to read. I do read and I do learn, but I'm also inviting you all to stop and take a moment to really feel. So I'm going to answer your question now. So, what is love to me? The first thing that comes up is my heart. I feel that love comes through the heart. And I feel like the heart is the central headquarters. It's funny how I say head, because they say that the heart is another major brain that we have that we can function from. And love, number one, for me, is love from, if you want to call it God. I don't mind using the word God. The creator, mother, father, God, creator. Number one, love for me is connecting into the divine in this way. That's my number one place I go to. And then number two, love, is to bring that divine energy of love, because we all intrinsically know what love is, on the inside level, not grappling for it outside on the horizontal level, but the vertical level between earth and sky. If we become that antenna and stay in our center, we're more likely to receive love, just like a tree receives the light of the sun and takes it down to the earth. We can stand like an inner tree of light, which is also in my course, to take in the love and embody it for yourself and start loving the self. And then we can take that to others. First God, and then self, and then others is a nice, I would say, to practice this love. And love is, for me, I experience love more so with life. My love is about life. It's about life itself. the way it grows, the way it is there for us, the elements, the sun, the moon. And I'm a bit of a nature child, so my shamanic lens is going to be always coming back to Mother Earth, because to me that's the most purest expression of that God force. And so for my love is the whole universe. And I think we all have that if we can stay centered. We can all be in the center of our vortex of this life of love. And then, of course, love can be coming from that center. Then, of course, love can be shared more gracefully, even by just one look. Even one look can change someone's life if you are focusing on love. And I'm not talking about love where you're denying the parts of you that you don't like. That's love. Love is to be able to bring the light of that love into the darkest parts of ourself. That's what the power of love can do, to bring the light into the dark parts we judge. Those areas need loving most of all. We're okay with the parts we feel fine about. We need to really begin to start loving the parts of us we feel is completely unlovable. That's the shamanic work.
Very complete and very interesting answer. So thank you for sharing. I think we all need this kind of words, especially today in this period of confusion. And as you said, and you mentioned, these talkative minds and information contradictories everywhere. So thank you. And we feel this kind of grounding during the broadcast right now. But I think you have a special gift for us, an exercise or a meditation as you wish. And you want to share this kind of exercise. It's like an extract from your course and your work.
Yes.
So I see your drum and shamanic, so we are ready to follow you.
Awesome. Absolutely. So everybody, thank you so much. Everybody, if you could close your eyes, please. And can you hear me when I speak at this level, Philippe?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. So everybody closing your eyes. And now beginning to take some deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Deep breath in through the nose and let go through the mouth. Another one. Now, on the next exhale and future exhales now, I'd like you to take a deep breath in through the nose. And on the exhale, become the breath as if you can see it, the breath rolling down the body. So you are the breath rolling down the center part of your body. If you only get to the belly button and start from there, we're going down to the root chakra. So every exhale now, taking a deep breath in and allowing the exhale to drop down slowly down the body. And with the breath, you're relaxing. Just follow the breath as if it's leading and guiding you down into the deeper part of your body, all the way down into the root chakra. The root chakra between the anal sphincter and the genitalia. At the base of your being, let every exhale now land you. And with it, take the tension, take the anxiety, take whatever is stored up in the brain, in the mind, in the worry, and the confusion, and let the breath take it down. There you go. And when you get to the root chakra and your awareness, and your breath can rest down there in the root chakra, just resting there for a bit, breathing down there, where you can feel the earth connecting to the root chakra on the floor or on the seat or whatever it is. It's just a grounding energy. And now I would like for you to contract and release the perineum area. In yoga, it's called the Mula Bandha. Contract that area between the anal sphincter and the genitalia and release 3 times. And let go on the release on the exhale. And now taking a deep breath in again from the mind, from the above place, from the above. And exhale with the mouth open. Let go with the mouth open. Let go all the way down. Following all the way down. Let your body drop the release all the way down to the root. And now continue breathing down through the open chakra of the root into the earth. Down, even if you're sitting on a chair or on a couch, it's okay. Let it go down. Give it to Mother Earth. Follow that energy, the breath, down into the earth. And let Mother Earth take it. Let her take the tension, the stress, the anxiety, whatever it is, because she knows how to transmute. She knows how to recycle this kind of energy into renewable energy for you. Just like she takes in the dead leaves and the dead branches of the tree and she mulches it up and she recycles it for new energy for the tree. Letting go, surrendering, being at peace with Mother Earth into the ground of your being. And now, just as a tree does, it takes up the nutrients of Mother Earth. And so now the focus is on the inhale and inhaling from the earth like a tree roots would. Inhale into the heart. And as you exhale, let it come up all the way to the top of the crown. Notice how your head lifts up when you do that. And allow the energy of Mother Earth to completely surround you. And again, breathing in from the roots all the way up into the heart. Fill up with Mother Earth energy, juice, aliveness, power, nutrients. And as you exhale, let it come up all the way into the crown and spill all the way 360 degrees around your body. Good. So the first half of this was to let go. And the second half of this process was to receive. Yeah? Good. Just notice now before you open your eyes how this feels in your body. How does your body feel? The body is the real place for you to monitor how you are feeling. Good. And when you're ready, give thanks to Mother Earth when you're ready. And slowly open your eyes, slowly from the ground up, like a curtain raising. Slowly, slowly from the ground up. You raise up. Yes, there you go.
That's magic. Because you feel power and strength, and it's so calming and also very strengthening. So thank you so much for this
You're welcome.
technique. Each time I am so glad to offer these kind of precious moments to open the mind and consciousness and be aware of the spirituality. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I'm going to give you a code for the people who are your listeners, a discount code for the group that listen to you.
That's
Yeah?
Christmas for us. Thank you so much for sharing in this.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So kind of you. So would you have final words, some spiritual advice to end this broadcast?
I think that the final words would be, if you're not spending time in silence, at least a couple of minutes in the morning and a couple of minutes at night, I would advise strongly to, first thing in the morning, just sit and perhaps do this process, if you like, this in and down process, breathing it in and down. And at night, a couple of minutes just to sit before you go to sleep is a really powerful way of beginning the day with your centering and ending the day with returning home to yourself. And I find this is a very powerful way of having a very good sleep, to already unwind and come into the place where you can now sleep. Because often when you go to sleep, your body takes a bit of time to let go, and you get some twitches, and the muscles have to let go what's stored in the memory of the muscles. So when you can do that more presence, you can sleep really well. So and also to every now and again when you can, to stand out on the earth and just be like a tree. Go and talk to a tree. Go and sit with your heart with a tree. Hug a tree and just try not to think about what you're doing. Just be with the tree. Let yourself be a tree. That's what I would suggest.
So, Amalia, thank you so much for this precious time you gave. And I just remind for the audience the title of your wonderful book, if you want to
Spirit of the
more
Stone.
about your life, Spirit of the Stones, and the title of your course, Stronger Than Ever. And I think it will be the final words. We all feel stronger than ever. Thanks to you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for sharing. And dear explorers, it's an honor to guide you. And I will be glad to welcome new guests very soon. Take care. Thank you for watching, sharing, putting comments, and please, thank you. Take care. Goodbye. Thank you, Amalia.